Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest here with me today. Someone I've been trying to get on the show for quite a bit. Our schedules are aligned. Here we go. She is one of the nicest people I have met in the wrestling industry. Also, probably the most professional. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my favorite commentator, one of the best I've seen in the industry. Give it up for Alyssa Marino.
Hi, that's like the nicest intro because sometimes rather than being anything in the world, I just want to be known as nice. Like I really love
You,
that. That made my day.
all right, so true story. Like I've been following you for quite some time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think we've been following each other since I think before I even got into the wrestling industry, truth be told. And like to see your journey grow, because I've always been a wrestling fan, always supported indies, but like before I actually got in, like to see your journey, like I saw you before you got to NXT, then you got into NXT, and then you're crushing the indies. Like it's awesome to see you grow. And then we finally met each other years later in person.
Yeah.
I forgot, it was a random BCW show. I think it was
Oh yeah,
actually
I was just
Anniversary 6.
yes, that was it.
Yeah. And you came up to me. You recognized me right away from Instagram. I felt awkward going to you, but you called it out for what it was. And I was like, it was so awesome. Like you're just such a genuine, cool human being. And I just want to ask, how the hell do you do it in just such a crazy industry where anyone could be jaded? You always seem so positive.
Positivity is kind of my jam. It is I have to lend it to one of the gems of wisdom from my mom. Anytime I didn't want to do something, like I was getting up for school in the morning and I was like, oh, I'm dragging, I don't want to go. No, let me sleep in. It was rise and shine. It's time to face the day with a dazzling smile. And that just stuck with me. So it's like, hey, if you don't want to do something, like put the smile on, let's go. There's so much anywhere you look, there's so much negativity all around. So if we can try and be like little mini lanterns of hope for one another, like that's what I'm here to do. Um, that and I genuinely like usually if I'm at a wrestling show, I'm genuinely happy to be there. Like I'm in a good element, usually surrounded by a lot of awesome friends. So that definitely helps.
No, it definitely goes a long way. Listen, it is all about the people at the end of the day and doing what you love. I mean, like at BCW, I honestly found a home there. Brie Combination Wrestling, for those who don't know, I feel like the locker room vibe has always been great. We always click, and it's like honestly, like for the hecticness that goes on in putting on a live show, it's like we're going through that together. And like if you go through it with like a positive group of people that you generally love being around, I mean, doing what you love, like there's no better feeling.
You can't beat that. And you honestly, you nail on the head with like anytime it's like a show day. Granted, it's going to be hectic. It's going to be busy. Cards are always subject to change. There's always a million and one things going on. What, where's the broadcast going? What's happening? Did I talk to this person and get their notes? Like it can be so high stress. So you're exactly right. Like if you can be around the people that put you at ease and the people that you want to be in that grind with, yeah, you're already miles ahead.
No, absolutely. And as I mentioned, like you were in NXT, right? Like you had work done over there. Um, and then unfortunately it was cut short during the pandemic, and you still found a way to stay positive through it all. Like that must have been challenging. Talk to me about that experience.
There were, yeah, that was, I will say, I think on social media, I was doing my best to uh, project a positive mindset. Definitely, on the behind the scenes, it was definitely a little tougher just because it was so turbulent of a time. Like I had up and moved everything to Florida, and I think at the end of the day, I had to keep in mind the fact that I got to do that at all. And that was kind of what drove me through and kept me in a positive headspace of like, this is literally a dream job that I got to do. So I think when I was ever feeling down or just, the circumstances, I also tried to put in perspective, like especially during that time, there were so many people that were going through so much worse. So that really kind of, I think I was maybe a little like too connected to the internet during that time and
Oof.
everything that was going on because there wasn't much else to do. I read like 7 books, but yeah, they're putting in perspective the things that I was going through and how that kind of paled in comparison to the rest of the world, to my neighbors, to my community, to other, superstars that were in the same boat. So I think there was a sense of camaraderie that came from that, and finding a new community and finding the support, and knowing it was there and having those like great safety nets along the way. I'm very grateful to all of my friends and family. Definitely was not an easy time, but yeah, just reflecting on the fact that I got to do that job at all is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, a dream job, as you said, for sure. And like, it takes a lot, I mean, the pandemic alone, like to suffer through that by itself. I mean, like that'll affect anyone, affected me for sure. But then on top of that, like, the feeling of losing the opportunity, I could relate to that. Finding out like I lost my gig on the news first before I got the email.
Mm.
The show I was working on was canceled. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And like, yeah, you go through your shit, but like, I feel like it takes a strong person mentally and emotionally to get over that, and you definitely did. How long for you did it take long for you to get out of that slump to have that enlightenment?
I think that I was trying to remember the time frame. Things got a little fuzzy around then, but I know
Yeah.
there was I know that I was still like keeping the door kind of open. I stayed down in Florida for a while. And I had done some stuff with like the digital side. Like I had been on some panels and done some like guest spots and stuff like that. So I kind of was like, I wasn't doing a whole lot indies wise in Florida except for Shine, and like FIP and stuff like that. But I was kind of just like dipping my toes every now and then. I had a friend that ran a company up here in Philadelphia, so I like came to visit home and also got to like do a show up here. And I feel like along the way, like though the opportunities became much fewer and farther between, especially during that time when we were all like kind of navigating how to do it, it still reminded me how much I loved it. And I think that that's something that too kind of like propelled me to bounce forward. And just like my mindset, I think that the way that I was raised, and bless my parents for the work ethic that they instilled in me, is like, no, we don't give up hope. We don't give up hope
Mm,
in this family. We keep going. So I had and still have a really, really good support system. So I really credit them for that.
that's amazing, especially for us streamers. Like you need that. It's so hard. You hear these different stories when the families and the friends are not as supportive, and I can only imagine like trying to swim through those ranks there. Um, it, you
I have to
know,
say,
it,
I had the complete opposite experience. So, you know how a lot of the
yeah,
time
same.
my college career, I I had auditioned to do opera, to do voice performance at
Oh
this like
wow.
conservatory. And I remember having the conversation with my parents and being like, "Guys, don't you think I should maybe try like a business degree or like history or something more practical?" They're like, "No, are you kidding? Like you have a voice, like go use it." I'm like, "For real though?" Cuz like, oh, hilarious. But like I just find that so beautiful about like I feel like deep down like they're dreamers too, and they got to kind of like live live this through supporting me through my college career. But that's hilarious to me that I was the one as the kid being like, hey, maybe should I maybe not dream? I don't know, just should I do
You know,
something more
ex
practical?
Speaking as a parent, though, I mean, you want to see your child happy,
Yeah.
with whatever that may be. Like, like I'm not necessarily a fan of say like NASCAR, but like if my daughter wanted to be a race car driver, that's her dream. I'll fully
Vroom,
support
vroom.
that.
Hell yeah.
Vroom vroom, let's go. I'll be the first one there. I'll be wearing the hat and everything, the
Yeah,
chugging beers. Let's go.
we'll be ready.
Um, but like, whatever makes your child happy, you want to support
Yeah.
so long as it's legal, of course.
Sure, sure, sure.
Right.
Within reason.
Within reason, right? Um, so touching base still on NXT here, like, you've absolutely been crushing the indies. Like, I love the work that you do. Tell me, what's the one thing that stands out that you've learned from NXT that you take with you today?
I actually, I was like joined at the hip to Alicia Taylor. She was like my mentor through everything for like my entire time down there. I adore her. And I think that with everything that we did, it was just a level of of professionalism and a level of just the way that you held yourself. So even to this day, I had some bad ring announcing habits. So when I do ring announce, it's like it's just a different kind of uh presentation. And I think that I hold that too when I do commentary. Just the way that one of the things that was always really important is like the superstars are the superstars. Like what we do is all about enhancing them. Like they are the stars. We are the supporting players that are like shining the light on them. And I think that that's something, not that I ever had like a bad habit with it in commentary before I was at NXT, but it really drove that home. That even when I'm on commentary, like it is about what those stars are doing. It is about the wrestlers that are in the ring, because at the end of the day, I have so much respect for what they do that I'm gladly happy to shine that light on them and tell their stories. So that's what it's always been about.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple, right? It's storytelling, and like as commentators, I commentate as well, and
Yeah.
like it's you're the narrator,
Yeah.
for those back home, and it's so important. Like you see, it, especially in the indies, like you definitely see a lot of bad habits for sure, um, but you always I feel like it's always been like it's just a grade A professionalism, like all throughout, when it comes to you.
Thanks.
Have you what's it like though, like when you work with someone like not necessarily as polished? Have you had that experience yet?
Definitely had the opportunity to like work with newer commentators, and with that, it's almost as much of a learning experience for me as it is for them, because I have more often than not been, a second in command to a lead commentator. So for me, it's almost having to shift into like, oh, wait, okay, hold on. So I have to like tee them up the things that like Lenny Leonard would give to me to get something, a cool soundbite out of me. So it's almost the shift of that and like channeling all like the cool things that my mentors have told me over the years, and then trying to translate that into a way that like makes sense in Alyssa speak, I guess. So yeah, to me, it's just as much of a challenge of how I pose questions or uh, inspire them to make the calls the way that we're having a conversation. So I think
Yeah.
that it's so much about the partnership, and like a three-person booth, don't even get me started because that's just a whole conundrum. But
Especially when it rotates, yeah.
yeah, so I think that there's always, that's the kind of the beauty of commentary, is that like I've been doing this what, like 5 years, 6 years, however long. I'm always learning something new. There's always something to polish.
I think that's what makes you so good. It's like that you're aware of that. Like, you don't have that chip on your shoulder, that ego per se. Like, it's and you have the confidence to know you're good. But like, I always take this with me. Julia Roberts, at this point, is like already makes $20 million a movie plus. Apparently to this day, though, she still holds around a notebook taking notes on how to get better, to improve. Like, you always have to improve. You always have to get better, no matter how damn good you are, no matter what level you are.
And I think it's always important. Like I always love to ask for feedback. Like if I'm just working with you for the first time, like, hey, anything for me? Anything, I think that's how we grow. That's how we get better.
Right. No, I mean, iron sharpens iron, right? Um,
Yeah.
and like it's crazy. Like there's such a it's especially in commentary, it's such like a male dominated industry. Like as you see even like, WWE, AEW, like, there's no female commentators on there right now currently. Um, what would you have to see? What is there necessarily a reason for that? Do you think that will change over time? Um, and what would you say to a young aspiring woman commentator who wants to try to break through?
I mean, 100% I hope that changes over time, because there are just having diverse voices. Everyone brings something so different to the table. So the idea that we can have this beautiful recipe, but all we're using is salt and pepper, like let's get some paprika, let's get like, let's get some
Yeah.
garlic powder, so
Yeah, I love
it's just
garlic powder.
it's the same. I just feel like there's not that we're, oh, we're missing out or we're losing, but like there are certain, I think, aspects of a broadcast that I think can just be heightened that much more by having different perspectives be present. So I definitely hope that that's something that we see shift and see change in the future, because there's so much great female talent out there, or just lesser known talent that we don't hear from all the time. So I would love to see a little bit more of that in the future. But to a woman that's starting out in broadcasting, I would just say like, yo, like let's go, like let's kill it. The Not the sad, I don't want to say it's like the sad part about it is, but I think when I was getting started, I only was working with male commentators. I didn't have any female commentators to work with, and I was always so worried that they would think I didn't know anything, or they would think less of me. And it made me work so much harder, and it made me prepare so much more, because there was this little fear in me of like, oh no, I can't, expose that I don't know X, Y, or Z. Like I need to be on my game.
Wow, so there's like
Um,
added pressure
yeah,
because you're a
and
woman.
def- definitely, because I think to me, not that anyone was expecting me to fail, but I've had more than one occasion where a male commentator has been like, "Oh, wow, like I'm like, I got hired to do this for like a reason, why are you so
Right,
impressed, But
right.
I'm sure it didn't come from a malicious place, but it's like, oh, like you're like I'm glad I can impress, but it's like it's weird. It's like a backhanded compliment. It's like kind of hard to
It's like
like
you're
it's
you're
positive.
you're really good for a woman. Like, stop.
Like that's the note beneath the note. So I definitely think that like let's be on our game. Let's know what we're doing. Let's hold ourselves to a high standard. But like let's just lift, high tide raises all ships. Let's just support one another,
Right.
until we can
Like,
get
are
to a
you
place where we need to be.
at this point? I mean, like, are you tired as a woman? Like, for like the first woman to do this, or the first, like, are you tired of these firsts? Like, do you expect it to just be like normal at this point?
I would love that. I would love to eventually, like, that's not a thing. It's just like, oh no, like this broadcast team has, these people. It's like, sweet. Like, I just don't, but for now, when it is, a lot of the major networks and the major programs, we don't have female commentators to be like, oh wow, this is WWE's first female play by play. Like, sweet. Like, let's
Let's
celebrate.
go. Yeah.
And then let's make this the norm.
Right. Yeah, so one step at a time.
Yeah, like let's
Yeah.
celebrate the victories as we go, but then like let's not have them have to be big deals. Let's not have it be, "Hey, I'm really impressed by you." Let's just have it like, "Oh, cool, you did your job well."
Yeah. And like, I feel like we're getting closer to that moment. Like for the first time, we have like two female lead, ring announcers on
Yeah,
Raw and SmackDown. So that's a great moment right here. Two black women as well.
absolutely.
So like that's monumental. And like
And bigger than that,
hopefully,
two powerhouse voices too. Like,
yeah. Well,
oh,
yeah, definition powerhouse.
yeah.
Um, And yeah, it's not necessarily like, anything new or grand to have a woman commentator, but like it should be the norm. Like, like I would love to see an all woman commentary team,
Yeah.
in the main stage. Like it's not like we've never seen it before in the indies. Like there are definitely women that are capable to go, and I can't wait for that change to happen. I think we're getting close. But we shall see. But Alyssa, I feel like time flies here, man. Like I
It
had an
does.
awesome time here with you. I could talk to you for days about commentary and just the business in general. Just tell us a little bit more. Like, where can they find you? Do you have anything that you want to plug right now? This is your time.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm at AYY_Marino on all the socials. I do on Instagram a little snack finds videos because, content is king. So tune in and watch me eat snacks, for your viewing pleasure. Any upcoming shows are going to be there on social media as well. So Instagram, Twitter. I don't really do much with my TikTok, so who knows? But yes, AYY_Marino to follow along there.
Beautiful. Like a pro. It's like you've done this.
Like I've done this. But no, thank you again. This has been really, really fun. I appreciate you having me on.
No, of course, and hopefully to have you back on again, and hopefully see you BCW again. Like killer job. If for those that haven't seen it, check out BCW Queen of the North 5. It is now available on Title Match Network for your viewing pleasure with Alyssa's fantastic commentary on there, along with Michael J. Putty, that guy.
Oh, come on, we had a blast.
I know you did. I know you did. But anywho, I am Marc Chouen. Thank you for tuning in for Shot Wrestling. Cheers, everyone.